Welcome back to Backroomconvos. I'm your host at the most, the social M, Daddy Waddy Paul, aka Shoot Your Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like I will. Listen, if you're a fan of sports, stay tuned because you might like what we're cooking on this week's episode. We are talking about the Forbes Top Creators of the Year, and on the top 10, I saw that we do have one African. On the top 20, we have two. We are going to talk about that later on the show, but now I want us to talk about my Christmas and Christmas in general and how that has been different for me specifically, you know what I mean? I want us to talk about that and how I didn't have anything to do on Christmas, you know. And I want us to also talk about this Maglera Doe Boy thing and what's happening around that situation. I know at the moment as we speak, it's still trending on Twitter. On Twitter it's still trending for who or where he comes from, you know what I mean? I want us to talk about that in a moment. Song of the day is Praise the Lord by A$AP Rocky and currently sits at 1.1 billion on Spotify alone. And for those of you who don't know who A$AP Rocky is, A$AP Rocky is the baby daddy of Beyonce and an amazing musician who made the song that's sitting on 1.1 billion for those of you who didn't know. And they also do have a song together with the baby mama who is the lovely Rihanna. They do have a song called Fashion Killer together. I don't remember the year that song was released, but they do have that song together. So let's jump right over onto it. You know, yesterday was the first time I actually spent Christmas alone, and I never knew what to do besides watch movies. And before that, how I used to spend my Christmas, I would be at church and I would be performing. Who didn't know, I perform a lot in church, and you know, I perform a lot in church, and there's a lot of things that I do in church, you know, and some of those things, dancing, and there's that, you know what I mean? So I was doing that at church for the most part of it. I'm so sorry, I was getting a call as I was repeating some of the words. So I do dance, I do a lot of creative work at church, and you know, I don't want to be a part of like any formally, I don't want to be in any formal structures or have a certain position because it limits my ability to do certain things. I like the idea of flexibility and, you know, I don't know, sometimes I think you don't really have much freedom when you have a lot of people that are working around you, because you also have to have the ability to listen to others, and even though they might not agree with you in a lot of things, and that hurts as hell, but you need to respect the decision that's being made by the majority, and that might not come with like the freedom aspect of it, but you will have flexibility for sure, and I like that a lot, you know. But that's besides the point. The point is, I used to spend a lot of time in church, and usually during this time I'm done, and yesterday would have been a date where we performed for the entire congregation, right? So I used to do that for the longest time, from when I was still young, for as long as I could remember, for sure. I used to do that, camp, you know, do church, and this, not the first, I don't know if this is the first time, because even in COVID, we had this. Did we have COVID in December when it ended? I'm not sure, but I think this is the first time. Let me say, this is the first time that I actually felt that, this sparks, you know, like this doesn't feel natural, because I haven't been, you know, alone in a Christmas day or watching movies, and it's just a phase among other phases of my life where it was like, you know, I'm used to spending Christmas alone or being indoors or not partying or not popping bottles. I don't pop bottles, for those of you who don't know. I'm used to being alone on New Year, so that I'm prepared for. But on Christmas, I say this because there was one friend of mine, you know, childhood friend of mine, grew up with me, and he was also going through the same thing, because we come from the same structures, same church, same performance, congregation, whatever. We come from the same platform, you know. He actually highlighted that, and I was like, wow, this is very interesting, because I also go through the same thing, and I wasn't aware of it until he pointed it out. I was like, oh, snap. this is actually the same thing that I'm going through. I was like, well, should I be there? Should I, where should I be? Should I be with family? Should I, but I don't have a lot of those where I could like easily wake up and go to dinner. And sometimes showing up at people's door uninvited, it's not the most, ideal thing for me to do, but it is what it is. So that happened. I was like, oh, this is the first time I actually spent Christmas, and I had a pleasure, where I stay, I'm renting. So it's a commune-like place where, we had guests, people who came to Emerald as a family, and they were renting the other space of where I stay, and they came in as a family. They were making a lot of noise, very annoyed. I thought they were going to be here for the longest time. I even was thinking about moving out for a part of the period. I was like, well, I'm moving out. These guys who are landlords never consulted me. I was going through that in my head. I was going through that dilemma in my head. So that happened for me. What, did I enjoy it? I think I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, because I've seen people going through Christmas with family. They did that. Did I feel the emptiness? No, I didn't, because there was things that I got to think about. I had the Suits series that I had to watch, which I really enjoyed, and it kind of like closed that up, the gap up, and I didn't think too much about it. I was like, well, this is something. And I also thought about, it's better being alone watching a series and being in an environment with people you don't really know, or like it's better that way, because I think this is what I think. I think it's better to be alone doing what you love than being in a space with people doing what you hate doing, which is speaking to people you don't know and they be asking questions that you don't want to answer. That I hate more than any other thing, you know what I mean, where I get to sit and I watch people and I answer questions, and I'm like, it's better to go through this doing what I love to do, which is watching this one series, that doing the other thing and being in the presence of people I don't want to be in, but in the name of like family and Christmas, I have to enjoy that. And I'm like, well, this is so much better. If it's going to be family, it has to be the right family. It has to feel right deep within, and I have to enjoy the experience inside out, And at that moment, I came to the realization, I think even in life, how I want to live with the people and everything besides, whatever that's going on, I want to be able to go through this experience with people that make me happy inside out, and, not having to be in a place where I'm not happy with that, but I'm trying to get through the moment. I don't want to go through life thinking, I want to live for the next moment, or because I hate this. I want to do things that I love to do. It one part of my life that's showing me that I could do better, it's this, and I could be a part of a family, build a family that I would like to be a part of, and that's one part of it, you know what I mean? So yeah, moving right along from that, that was my Christmas. I know it's boring as hell, but it's a phase. We have different Christmases, different families, broken families, and there's always a story to tell, and that's mine. It sucks, I know, but it is what it is. So moving right along, I know that was a bit awkward. I know, people are talking about Maglera Doe Boy on the internet, about where he comes from, and I was thinking the same thing, because now I have someone that I really, grew up. I almost said someone I adore, but someone that, I grew up besides, like someone who is a part of who I am. But for the longest time, I haven't been aware of this, and it's a revelation or a realization that I've got to at this point. And this is a realization that I've got to. I don't know how this correlates to Maglera Doe Boy story, but this is what I want to talk about anyways. There's someone in your life that is in your life at the very moment now. He is at the very moment. Say, let's take this in parallel. There's someone sells something at your court in the corner. He's, a barber or whatever. And they are always there, and they've been always a part of who you are. But you never really appreciated them for that. And one day they decide to drop a nugget of wisdom. And, the next thing you're using what they're saying in one of your classes in school. And that goes to like you applying the same principle at varsity. Then you go into your work life and your marriage, or perform your adulthood, or whatever the phase may be in your life. And then it goes on for years, right? 10 years compounded from that one experience that you had with that guy who dropped the nugget of wisdom for you. And for that long, you realize, I was able to reach that decision by myself because you use the previous situation that you were in as a reference point. Not realizing where it started. It's from that guy who's at the corner store, the guy who's a barber, the lady who's a vendor who's selling snacks at the corner. They've been there since you were in preschool. You finished primary, you went to secondary, you went to tertiary, you got married, your parents, you lost your parents, and they were still there, the very same corner. And when I read something, it was saying to me, 90% of who you are, this is environmental psychology. It says 90% of who you are, it's because of your environment. And sometimes I feel like we lack to appreciate those people who give us those nuggets of wisdom. Those small nuggets of wisdom they give to us, we fail to appreciate that, for the longest phase of our life. I fail to appreciate this, and you don't see it for the longest time in your life. You only appreciate the people who have like the huge impact, but we also fail to acknowledge the people that make the small impact in your life, and of which that small impact happens to like be a big result in your life, compounded with time, of course. And I'm like, well, I went through the dilemma, and I was like, someone that I really know, they might have given me a nugget of wisdom or two, and I've carried that with me for the longest time in my life. But the only time that I really got to appreciate their existence or their love or, their careness or how they think, it's when they gave me that wisdom. Up until now, the very moment that we are in, when they passed away, I was like, nah, I thought this was all me without having to consider OT. Before this wisdom, there was that guy at the corner, and he went through whatever he went through to get that nugget of wisdom, and he was able to share his experiences with me, and I carried that with me for a decade, and compounded with time, and I was able to use that, reinvent it or reverse engineer it, but it's still the same concept that I got from that guy, and for someone like me who is like an advocate for gratitude, who I stand like Okuti, you need to appreciate, like the whole 9-yard gratitude, love, I'm big on that. And I'm like, one thing I realized, Okuti, about love, there's a threshold, there's people you won't remember in your life who played a huge role in who you are today. But the only moment, and it's sad, the only moment that you get to acknowledge the nugget of wisdom they dropped on you, it's in the moment they said it, and in the moment they passed away, or they pass away. And in between, you don't realize, you go through life and say, oh, he's dead. That's somebody at the corner who's doing that, not aware, would see. A part of your existence is because of that man or the knowledge that lady has from that corner, and I was like, oh, like the threshold to life is so boring. Like, it's so sad because you can love so much, you can show so much gratitude people, on a day-to-day basis, and it said if you were able to focus on everything in our life, would go crazy, so you can only focus on so much, and it sucks because if God is the one who created this, bro, it's like, God, you could have given us everything, bro. If you we made in your image, bro, and you have everything, you put some of these, of which I think it's a flaw. If we were meant to love one another, to show gratitude, do? Why can't I show this person gratitude every day and everybody around me to feel loved, to feel appreciated? And in that moment, I realized, you can't do that. There will be people that are there for a season. Like Tyler Perry says, there'll be people who are there for a season. There will be people that are forever there, like people are there there's people who are there for winter. There's people who are there for spring. There's people who are there for every year of their life, And like he says with the tree, a tree goes through a phase where it loses, it breaks the branches, and it goes to a rebirth stage and all of that, I was like, whoa, bro, like, this is amazing, I don't know how that correlates, but I thought to drop that, but it does make sense. I'll take it out, scrap it, take it out of that. So, but, the seasons, I wanted to say that about Tyler. He speaks of seasons in one of the Maglera characters, or like one of the interviews that he had with the Maglera role. He speaks of seasons, but some people are there for a season, and and he was explaining all of that says, and I realized, bro, like, God could have done so much, but at the same time, he gave you that one moment, you can appreciate life. And it's a different head from what family head is when you lose a family member head is, and this head where you get to reflect and appreciate life, and at the same time you're like, oh, I'm still going to go through this with 10 other people that gave me wisdom that I'm not aware of now, but I gave them, their flowers when they did. And the only other time that I would remember, it's when that person passes away. It's so sick. That makes me sick that I only come to a realization of the impact that person has in life when they pass away. You know what I mean? So the lightning just struck. I'm your host, Lesego M, Daddy Boy, aka Future Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. Let's meet on the second segment. Welcome back to Backroomconvo. I'm your host of the most, Lesego M, Daddy Boy, aka Future Shot, and maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy like Cairo. For those of you who just joined us on the first segment, we did talk about my Christmas. We did touch a bit about Maglera Doe Boy, but we didn't conclude because I had something that I wanted to share that's very close to my heart because of a current event that happened in my life, and I was sharing a bit of that story. And I want us to go back to the story of Maglera Doe Boy not happening on Twitter. So yeah, we are going to talk about that now. For those of you who are wondering, the song of the day is Praise the Lord by A$AP Rocky featuring Skepta. The song currently sits at 1.1 billion on Spotify alone. For those of you who don't know who A$AP Rocky is, he is the baby daddy of Rihanna's son. Raza, is it Riza? Yeah, Riza. Is it Riza? Raza? I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's spelled R-A-R-Z-A. Riza, and they have a second child as well. I don't know if it's a daughter. I didn't make research on that. I didn't, make research on that. So yeah, lightning struck before I could finish the first segment, so I ended it because I had a bit of fear, and I thought maybe that was God saying, I need to recheck what I said about him and the flaws, and so I do take that back. I apologize for saying that's a flaw, but it's also something that you can appreciate. It's something you can appreciate about life with him. As much as you can't appreciate everything, but for the fact that you recognize and care enough to even go through that experience, or like through that journey of memory lane, and we can all appreciate those moments with the people and what we've went through, the loss, and what we stood to gain from those experiences, and I think each and every day I want to live for the right reasons. I want to be a grandfather that gives wisdom to their grandchildren, where my grandchild can come to me, or my son, or my daughter, or my daughters, or my sons, or both, or I want 3 sons, 3 sons and 3 girls, or whatever the the odds. So I want to say the odds. I don't know if that's the word, but whatever God has, or whatever plan God has for me, if it's 2 sons, 2 girls, I'm fine with it. Or even if it's none, and if it's God's will, bro, like I can't change it, But I'd like to really have 2 daughters, 2 sons, or 3 daughters and 3 sons, because I'm big on family orientated. It's something that I think what the version of family that I had, it was very flawed. And with my family, I don't want to really make the same mistake, and I fix that, so my children have the right principles of living this life. So is my grandchildren, you know what I mean? So that's very important to me, to have that, When to have a wife, it's very understanding, smart, intelligent. That's also good inside out, man. I was listening to a pastor at my church who was actually giving a sermon, a testimonial on how God has been great to him. And one of those things he was grateful for was his second wife, and he was saying, she's pure within and out, and like the purity in a woman is what I can only hope for. And a woman that comes from a very loving family with the present father, a woman who understands the values of a family. I can only hope for that, you know what I mean? I'm being scared of the lightning that's been stuck outside, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's all I can hope. And it's very imperative for me to get that. If I want to get the foundation right for the next generation of the top kids, you know what I mean? But yeah, man, speaking of Maglera, and people are busy talking about the incident, and a lot of the comments that I've read, they speak good on, Maglera's background, to say he is what he is, and people who don't stand or support who Maglera is, then they shouldn't be listening to his music. But because what he's been saying to this music, he was speaking about the people he was showing on that video. But that's the environment that I come from, and if I lie to you and say this is not true, you know what I mean? I'm saying, but this is the reality of where I come from. These are the people, these are my friends of where I come from, and I'm able to have this immense success because of my surrounding. For those of you who didn't hear me mention, 90% of who you are, according to environmental psychology, is made by your surroundings, your environment. And Maglera is who he is because of the environment, and a part of that being his friends, you know what I mean? So if that doesn't speak on his character and how was able to build and get to where he is, I don't know what is. And I think at this point, and I want to speak on brands, if brands are saying we are not going to support this, then it's fine. Maglera is not for every artist, Maglera is not for every artist, and brands who are aligned with who he is will always find him, The brands also have a foundation, what they stand for, and Maglera stands by his story. And if there's anyone who wants to support him, they'll support him because he's true to who he is. And as much as where he comes from is not to be glorified, but at the end of the day, he has to tell his story the best way he sees fit. And if that's how he shows it, and the reality of things is not as what the public perceive, or like what the general public thinks should be shown, then we have a real conversation we need to talk about. How do we change our communities to what we want to see, or what we as people want to represent in society, and how do we involve the government in that as well, you know what I mean? So that's a conversation starter, and I'm glad that Maglera was one person who's in the forefront of that, given that I think with this happening, Maglera is in his prime. He has the voice, he has the influence to sway the conversation or drive the narrative anywhere or everywhere it should go, in the right places with the right guidance. And I hope with the content that he released with that, he's all in the right place with it. this is what I want to achieve with me releasing that, and what I hope to achieve is a, purpose behind what he's doing. I want us to talk about the moment of truth. Forbes released its annual top creators of 2023. Shout out to people like KSI, who is in second place after Mr. Beast. So yes, I want us to speak a bit about the people who are part of this, who make up this entire thing. We are talking about creators, influencers, streamers, and vloggers who make up this entire list. So what they look at for you to qualify as part of this, they look at your earnings, they look at total followers, they look at average engagement, and entrepreneurship score. So for those of you who don't know what an entrepreneurship score is, I'm going to read that out for you. So for people who don't know what an entrepreneurship score is, there's levels to entrepreneurship score, right? So the first level is where someone is self-employed and they do everything by themselves, or there's that. And there's a second level where someone who owns a business hires a second person to actually do the work they are supposed to do when they were self-employed. So that's the second school, the second grade of it. So for people who didn't know, so the third level, I'm looking at the third level. Let me just do this quick. So there's a third level, there's a fourth level, there's a fifth level, which is different from every level. You know what I mean? So I'm getting this from where I'm looking. Let me just go back to the scores for those of you who want to know. I'll read out what the score. So basically, that's what a score is. A score tells us about the level of entrepreneur you are. So I think all these entrepreneurs that are about to be mentioned now, the score ranking on entrepreneurship score is 4. So for those of you who don't know, I'll read it a bit what scores are later on the podcast. So yeah. So I want us to talk about and how we as Africans don't have platforms like these, where you get to have, a Forbes, a young black person in South Africa, or a Forbes, or a platform that's similar to Forbes that someone in the world might want to be a part of. I know that Piano is doing it now, right? But we don't have that. We don't have that in podcasting where we host our awards. And I think we need to create those platforms for ourselves where we get to celebrate. Where, people are bashing the Grammys now. What's the Grammys this, they're saying that. And I'm like, we need to be a part of the conversation and start to own some of these things, And looking at this, the Forbes list, and I know this is a move for them to keep being relevant in the conversation around business and influential people, and that's why they do what they do with these lists. That's how they stay relevant. And for those of you who didn't know, I'm going to disclose that Mr. Beast now is meant to be a part of the Forbes board. The Forbes board, when a plan is sealed for the company is completed. He's meant to be, I was reading that he is meant to be one of the board members of the company, because they're still working on a deal, for those of you who wanted to know. So I'm going to mention, let's do how many? 5? Do we have time for 5? Let's do 5. Okay, so first place we have Mr. Beast, who has an estimate and earning of 820 billion. 82 million. I'm so sorry for that. He has 82 million in earning, total followers 312 million followers, and average engagement is 9.8%, and entrepreneurship score is 4. For those of you who didn't know, I did say what I'll give you the entrepreneurship score. So the African that I was talking about, it was KSI. For those of you who missed that part, so His earnings are 2.4 million total followers, 112 million average engagement, 6.5 with a score of with an entrepreneur score of 4. J Paul on number 3 with earnings of 34 million total followers, 66 million, 1.6 engagement rate, average engagement. That's also entrepreneurship score. Entrepreneurship score, it's 4. Number 4 is Reeds and Link, who have I'm so sorry for the failure. Earnings of 3.5 million, total followers 51 million, average engagement 0.85%, entrepreneurship scores 4. Number 5 is Charlie D'Amelio. Charlie D'Amelio, earnings 23 million, total followers 218 million, average engagement 0.7, entrepreneurship scores 4 as well. Logan Paul, who has a big brother by Logan Paul, who's in position 3, and he is number 2 in top creators. He's number 3 in top creators list of this year, for those of you who didn't know. So Logan Paul has earnings of 2.1 million, total followers 74 million, average engagement 1.2 million, which is higher than Mr. Beast, if I'm not mistaken. Entrepreneurship scores 4. Number 7 is Elliot Tebele, fucking Jerry. But apparently this is the nickname, so I'm so sorry for the profanity. So earnings 30 million, total following 17 million, average engagement 1%. Oh, okay, this is also good. Entrepreneurship score 4. Number 8 is Emma Chamberlain, who has an earning of 12 million, total followers 28 million, average engagement 6 million. No, so I don't get it. Like, he has to like work on a team that gets him to like the same figure as the Beast, because if your engagement rate is 6.25% average, you need to be doing a lot. So the entrepreneurship score is 4. So number 9, I think it's Matt. It's Matt the Ref. He's a comedian. He sits at 25 million and earning total followers 2.2, average engagement 10.7%. Entrepreneurship score is 3. He's still working on that. So he's been in the game for long, but people knew him from while and out. And after his videos blew on TikTok, one of the videos he did on TikTok, when it changes his entire life. I think I've watched the interview where he was talking about that. So moving right along, number 10 is Brent Rivera, who has an earning of 17.5 million, total followers 96 million, average engagement 11.25, which is above what Matt is making, which is above what Matt has, but I don't know, okay, but the following is a bit less, so I think those factors are how big the ranking. Entrepreneurship score is 3, so this is quite good, this is quite good. These are just the names that are in the top 10. This list goes up to 50, like this list goes up to 50, and I just want to mention some of these things as a side note for the people who didn't know. This is a list of 50 individuals who make up combined followers of 2.6 million, and they made a total earning of 700 million in earnings together combined, which is, which has a difference of 108 million from last year. It's an up, or 20% up from last year, of which they made like 270 million on score, but this year it's 700 million, which is a difference of 180 million, if I'm not mistaken. That's how lucrative this influencer marketing is, or creator, or streamer, or whatever it is. If you want to get into that, those are the numbers that Forbes were able to pull for 2023 alone. So to close the 2023 quarter, this is according to Forbes. They are meant to spend, like brands are meant to spend something like 21 billion on creator marketing alone in 2023. What's next year, the year after that, it's gonna go up. You know what I mean? So this is according to this is according to social media research firm Influencer Marketing Hub. For those of you who want to get the report, so that's where Forbes got the insight from, which is an up from like 7 years before now, which was about 1.6 billion 7 years ago. For those of you who didn't know, and I thought that was interesting to mention. The book of the day, for those of you who've been waiting for this moment. So the book of the day, it's still the same dude that we were covering the last episode that we had on Friday. So it's Stephen Hawkins, for those of you who didn't know. So it's Stephen Hawkins. The name of the book is Brief Answers to Big Questions. For those of you who wanted to know the book of the day, it's Brief Answers to Big Questions. If you know who Steve Hawkins is, he's big on like physics and anything you need to know about the universe. Steve Hawkins is the person for you. Yeah, I don't think a lot of the demographic who listen or watch this podcast are like, a demographic of Steve Hawkins. But if you are, this book was published on the 16th of October 2018. The book is an autobiography, which is about 256 pages long. It's a good read. It's 2018, and I say it's a good read because on Goodreads it's ranking 4.3 out of 5, and 96% liked it. Of Google users, you guys liked it. So the second read, it's ranking 5 out of 5. It's a good book for those who want to read. And please do let me know what you think of the book on the comment section. The song of the day is Praised a Lot by A$AP Rocky featuring Skepta, which currently sits at 1.1 billion on Spotify alone. Have a lovely evening. I'm your host, the most disappointed Daily Report, aka Future Shot. Maybe you might get a chance to call me Daddy Nakaru. Let's meet tomorrow on another episode of Backroomconvo. So cheers.